Back in March of 2022, when I just started improving my social skills, when I started researching this whole area and topic, the number one thing which helped me improve the quickest, like nothing else, the thing that genuinely got me from 0 to 1 to start up that momentum was doing cold approaches. Specifically, just cold approaching random people on the street and having a conversation with them. In the start, right back when I started, or how it started, was I saw this challenge online called the 100 Interaction in 30 Day Challenge. The name explains it. Basically, in 30 days, you try to cold approach 100 strangers, and by the end of the 30 days, you become social, right? So I started doing this challenge, and when I first started doing it, I remember just approaching anyone, any random person on the street, and even just asking something as simple as "How's your day going?" or "Excuse me, what time is it?" or whatever, used to be so scary, and I used to get such anxiety. But when I would eventually do it, the feeling I would get afterwards would be insane. I would feel so confident, so happy, so like the momentum would be crazy. Like genuinely speaking to the next guy that day after the first guy would be 30 times easier. And speaking to the third guy would be like 10 times easier. The momentum was crazy. You could fully like feel the effects, like the positive effects, and I could genuinely feel like my confidence growing and my social skills improving. Like I could actually feel it with every interaction. But as time passed on, and as I did that challenge and then ended up speaking to even more people, like genuinely hundreds upon hundreds, including girls and everyone, what I noticed was that the benefits kind of stopped being so obvious. Basically, I would go approach people, but it wouldn't get any anxiety doing so. I did it so many times, it's just not scary to go and speak to strangers anymore. And then when I would speak to them and finish, even if it's like a really long conversation with a stranger, I wouldn't get that kind of nice confidence boost, happiness boost, I wouldn't feel so enthusiastic about it. And what that did was it got me to the point where for a few months, I just completely stopped cold approaching and speaking to strangers, right? I was still improving my social skills. I was still reading books and learning theory and tips and tricks and watching videos like this one, but I wasn't speaking to any people. And what I noticed very quickly was that my kind of social, kind of the momentum that I had picked up started going down. I could feel that I was kind of getting more introverted, my confidence was going down, it was kind of harder to maintain eye contact with people, and when the situation would arise to where I needed to speak to a stranger or speak to a cute girl or something like that, I would notice my anxiety would actually start kind of appearing again. Even though a few months earlier I had no anxiety, could speak to anyone, now, because I hadn't done it in such a long time, I've actually started kind of feeling anxious about it. Like, how do I do this? What am I going to do? And that's when I realized that, first of all, you should never stop cold approaching. Even when you're super advanced, even when you're like top 1%, top 0.1% communicator, whatever, speaking to people, to strangers every single day is the foundation, the like foundational exercise, practice, which you just need to be doing constantly if you want to actually like be like a social guy. Because it's a skill that must be maintained. If you don't maintain it, if you go to the mountains for 10 fucking years and then you come back to civilization, you're probably gonna be pretty weird. You're gonna have social anxiety. You're not gonna be able to speak to people. And the same thing is if you lock yourself in your room for the next 6 months and you completely stop speaking to everyone, like a lot of these guys do who say they're on monk mode, winter arc, from October to April, you're just gonna lock yourself in the gym and in the home, in the school, and you're gonna work on your business. But then when springtime comes, sure, you're way more jacked, sure, you're probably making some money, but when the time comes to enjoy the fruits of your labor, to go to a party, to maybe speak to some girls, to go out and have fun, be social, you just end up being that kind of awkward guy who sits in the corner, and even though he's like jacked and buff, he kind of, when he speaks to you, he's looking at your feet, and he's too scared to cold approach any girl because for the last 6 months he's been living like a cave dweller, just in his cave in the dark in the room, like grinding, not realizing that he's making himself socially autistic, probably for the second time in his life, right? And so what you have to realize is that, again, this is an exercise which you need to adopt this mentality where speaking to strangers just becomes an everyday thing. It becomes an everyday thing, like drinking water or breathing. You're not gonna think about, should I keep drinking water or am I just gonna stop? Should I keep eating or should I just stop eating? No. That's the way that you should think about speaking to strangers and speaking to everyone. Should I stop speaking to strangers? No. Like, you just don't stop doing that for the rest of your life, right? You go to the gym, you see some guy who's buff, you go, you fist bump him, hey bro, how long you been training for? You speak at the store to like the cashier, you just ask how's your day going? And you don't do this necessarily always because you want to get that one extra experience point. You do it because it's the natural thing to do and it feels nice. We're social creatures, we're humans, we like speaking to other humans, we like interacting, and when you have no anxiety because you already kind of build up the momentum, it becomes super easy to just have a conversation with anyone. So you should just allow yourself to do that without having kind of this thought in the back of your head like, is this gonna give me the experience that I want? Is this gonna give me the practice that I want and stuff? Now, another way that you can also just, use this to keep again going to higher and higher levels is you can combine it with learning, combine it with theory that you learn from books and videos. For example, let's say you watch one of my videos, and in one of them I say that when you're speaking to people, you need to maintain hard eye contact, like I'm doing to you right now. The next time you go and you speak to a person, try to remember the one tip that I gave you and use it when speaking to the stranger. So let's say you go to the shop and now you're speaking to the cashier and then you remember you're gonna ask them, how is your day going? But then you remember this time when I ask them, I'm gonna maintain eye contact. You do that, then you do it again and again with a few more people until it becomes habitual, until it becomes instinctive. And now you're making eye contact with people instinctively. Like I remember when I started first like making eye contact, I would speak to people and I would kind of look all around everywhere, but their eyes. But then for like a week or two, I forced myself to always look straight in the eye of the person who I'm speaking to, and now it just comes naturally. Like I can look at a person in the eye for like half an hour straight without breaking contact while they're speaking. And it's not awkward, and I don't feel like I need to change or switch my gaze because it's a skill that I've trained up. So again, if at any point you might have kind of got the thought of like speaking to strangers, cold approaching isn't really as productive anymore, you don't think it's beneficial, maybe you think there's other more important, more beneficial things you can do for your social skills, remember that there is not. This is as fundamental as it gets. And think about it this way. You could become a master level at social skill, like super social person, just by speaking to tons of people. But you could also learn all the information in the world on this skill, watch all the YouTube videos, read all the books, get all the coaching, but still be socially autistic, socially inept, because you never spoke to a person, right? It all comes down to this. So that's why you should just always keep doing it, adopt the mindset that it's just like as if breathing or drinking water is just a daily thing that you do every single day when you leave the house without thinking about it. That is the way that you become and also maintain this super social, vibrant life. If you want to improve your communication skills very quickly and you want to learn the best information that I've learned on this topic in the last 3.5+ years that I've been studying it and improving at it, you can check out the first link in the description. If you found this video helpful, I think you'll find a lot of value in this video right here. Click on the subscribe button and do the work.